Poor marketing, bad music, or just lack of talent are not the real dream killers for most independent artists. It's quitting. It's refusing to learn. It's giving up when it gets hard or when we get distracted. It's forgetting the fact that everything we do compounds over time. One of my favorite creators and I guess artists online is a guy named Jack Butcher, and he has a company called Visualize Value. And he has this little illustration that kind of sums this up perfectly to my eyes. See, everything happens slowly and then all at once. It can take years for us to achieve our goals because it takes a long time for that stuff to compound and then explode. That's why every overnight success you've ever heard of is generally at least 10 years in the making. You've never heard of them, you've never heard of them, you've never heard of them, and then one day they're on your radar. But if you look back through their catalog, they've released a ton of music. They've put up a ton of content. They've done a ton of work leading up to this point. And because all of this compounds over time, it's the stopping and starting that really kills us the most. I mean, if you look at my trajectory on YouTube, it looks almost exactly like that graph from Visualize Value where it says this is pointless. In fact, leading up to that explosive moment, I was posting a vlog video 5 days a week, a long form video, not short form. Shorts wasn't even a thing. I was posting a long form video 5 days a week for like 8 or 9, 10 months, something like that, like a long time. I was posting and no one was watching. Now, what makes this so difficult is that it takes an almost insane level of self-belief, self-confidence to continue doing something when there are no results to speak of. I mean, you have to be a bit of a crazy person to keep making music, keep releasing music, keep posting content online, keep marketing it when nobody's paying attention. Once the novelty of what you're doing has worn off from your friends and family, I mean, when you first start something, your friends and family are going to be supportive, but they're not going to be your true audience at the core of what you're doing. And so they're going to drop off. They'll support you at first and then they'll forget about it. And so you have this high at the beginning and then you enter this slump where it starts to become less fun. It starts to become more of a grind. And that's what really separates the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. That's when people tend to drop off. And people really drop off for 3 specific reasons, especially when it comes to music. The first one is artists stop creating. Creating music takes time. It takes energy. It takes effort. You have to show up when it's difficult. You have to show up when it's inconvenient. You have to put in the reps every day or every week. You got to carve out time. For most of us, we have a lot of other things that demand our time. We have jobs, we have families, we have a lot of other stuff going on. So you really have to be intentional about carving out the time to create music. And that means showing up when you're uninspired, showing up when you are not feeling creative at all, showing up and being prepared to make something that is absolute trash, but make it anyway because you enjoy the process. I mean, I have hundreds, maybe thousands of sessions on my hard drive that are little projects and songs and tracks and stuff that I've started, little ideas. Most of them will never see the light of day, but I'm always trying to create. I'm always trying to put ideas down. And when I show up, I know that there is a high likelihood that what I do is going to suck, but I have to do it anyway because I have to keep those chops up. Every track, every song, every session, every idea is an opportunity to learn and improve our craft a little bit and kind of sharpen that edge. So even if we don't put it out, just the act of creating in and of itself is important. And on top of that, I mean, if you're anything like me, creating music, even if I'm not going to put it out, just makes me feel better. It's keeping that positivity. It's keeping those endorphins and those creative juices flowing. So when we stop creating, that's the first step towards kind of falling off of this and failing ultimately. Now, the second thing most artists do that causes them to fail is they stop releasing music. Case in point right here. I mean, I have a lot more sessions, a lot more songs I've made than I have put out. And I'm sure most of us are the same way. It's easier to make something and then be critical of it and then leave it on the hard drive than it is to make it, be critical of it, and decide I'm going to put it out anyway. Let me tell you a little story. So my most successful song to date is a song called Hero. Before that was a song called Lions. When I got done recording Lions, it had been a while since I had released any new material. And I recorded the vocal on that song and I got done with it. I got done mixing it and mastering it. I had tuned all the vocals, which I have to do because I do not fancy myself the greatest singer in the world. And I got done with the track and I listened back to it and I thought, man, the vocal performance on this is trash and I am not happy with it, but it has been too long since I've released something. I have got to put out some music. So I took a chance and I decided to release it anyway. And I thought to myself, well, if it sucks and nobody likes it, very few people will hear it, and that's okay. I'll just move on to the next one and learn from this, and hopefully the next one will do better. But as it turns out, that song did great. It was my first song to really blow up on Spotify. It was the first one to really get a big Release Radar push, a big Discover Weekly push, and it has been on Discover Weekly pretty much ever since I put it out. I still don't love the vocal performance, but I released it anyway. And that to me was a lesson in overcoming my own fears, my own judgments about myself, my own perfectionism, which is a huge one for me personally, and just taking a chance, putting it out and moving on to the next thing. And I'm glad I did it because it informed a ton of what I did moving forward with new releases after that. It also gave me a ton of great content to create for this channel that I was able to share with other people and show what worked inside of running ads and growing on Spotify. And I think those videos have helped a lot of different artists use those same tactics to succeed on their end. So a lot of good came out of something that if I had been too critical and not put it out, might never have happened. And then the third thing that I see a lot of artists do that causes them to ultimately fail is they don't evolve. So if you've got it kind of dialed in and you're making a lot of music and you're releasing a lot of music, you can't stay the same forever. Most artists evolve over time. I mean, all artists, I would say, evolve over time, especially the great ones. Artists and bands who have staying power, who have been around for a long time, they're always taking chances, some of them big, some of them small, but they're taking risks and they're adjusting course over time. When they make new records, when they just make new singles, oftentimes they won't sound a lot like what they used to do because they're creatively improving their game, or at least evolving. I think one of the big kisses of death that exists nowadays with the ease of uploading music, the ease of creating content, the ease of sharing art with the world is that we want to find what works and then stick with it. Now, when we first get started, you want to find what works. You want to find the overlap of what do I do that I like to do? What am I good at? And then what do people want from me? It's that confluence of those three things that allows you to sort of meet a need in the market with your art and then serve people who enjoy it. But once we find that, we tend to want to stick with that. It's why you go to somebody's social profile and literally every single video looks exactly the same. And every single video is about the exact same thing. There's no nuance to the topics. I mean, even this channel, I have gone too narrow at times and just stuck with the same thing over and over again. And ultimately it gets stale. It gets stale for the viewer, the consumer, the listener, and it gets stale for the creator, for the artist, for the musician. You want to mix it up. You don't want to stray too far. Like, I'm not going to start making videos about cooking, but at the same time, you don't want to stick to the exact same thing that you've been doing every single day. Life evolves. You know, the world evolves. What you are interested in as an artist, it will evolve. So don't be afraid to evolve too. I think that's how we create careers that are measured in decades instead of years or months or weeks or days. All right, so that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this and you want to go deeper with topics just like this every single week, then I hope you'll subscribe to my newsletter, The One Thing. Every Tuesday, I send out one thing that I am either thinking about or testing on my end to succeed as an independent artist and entrepreneur in sort of the digital age. So if you do want to subscribe, I'll leave a link to do that in the description of this video. And you can also read previous issues of my newsletter at that same link if you want to do that too. So as always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.